I started making videos on my dad's old camera. It was a small camcorder. The quality wasn't very good, but I also didn't know anything about cameras at all. However, as time went by, I educated myself more on cameras and filmmaking in general. And only then was I able to look back at my old videos and realize that I had been doing a lot of things wrong, like shooting in the wrong frame rate, the wrong shutter speed, being over or underexposed. This also brought up the flaws in the camera that I was using. It was just very limited. I realized that it might be time for me to upgrade to a new camera. The hardest part though was figuring out which camera I wanted to get. There are a lot of factors that go into buying a new camera, but I was also aware that it's mainly about what would work best for me. And that's what I want to talk about today. Is there such thing as the best camera? Why I chose to buy this camera, Canon EOS R, and how it works for me.
Never could have been thinking I would know what the future bring. All the highs and lows. Said I'm gonna win, though the world might spin. Now I'm sitting here like I'm no one. It rains down on me. All the phone calls I'm ignoring. See, I'm a mess, just trying to guess my way through this. Just don't get enough of me.
This is the Canon EOS R. I've been using it for a little over 6 months now, and it's awesome. One of the reasons why I love this camera is that it's a full frame camera. And this is great because full frame cameras have the ability to create beautiful, soft, blurred backgrounds. As you can probably tell, the background behind me is blurred out of focus, and I'm not. This is a look that I really like because it allows to create more isolation and separation between me and the background, which draws the eye to the subject in focus. All right, let's get to another reason why I love this camera.
Just don't get enough of me. Just don't get enough of me.
That was a cool little tripod shot. Funny enough, the one day I decided to come outside and film, that's when they want to come and cut the grass. Guess we'll just have to ignore that for today.
Just don't get enough of me.
Another reason why I love this camera is the colors. I'm sure you've heard of Canon's color science before. This camera has C-Log, which is a very flat profile, very low contrast and saturation, which allows me to bring back the colors in the edit and save details in the shadows and highlight that way. Also, let me know in the comments what you guys think about this composition. I think I like it. All right, let's move on.
Worry way too much. Got a policy. Did it bring me luck? Just the honesty. Now it's all on me. If I'm gonna win, oh, I'm just gonna get up. It rains down on me. All the phone calls I'm ignoring. See, I'm a mess, just trying to guess my way through this. Just don't get enough of me.
However, there are some features or lack thereof that I don't like about the EOS R. For example, the lack of IBIS. IBIS stands for in-body image stabilization, and this basically does what the name says. It goes in and moves the sensor around in your camera to compensate for any vibration or shake that you would have, which would result in making your camera motion very smooth and stable. And the fact that the EOS R is lacking this feature makes it a little harder to get smooth handheld footage. So I wanted to shoot the rest of this video where I started it, but as you can see and probably hear, I can't do that now. So I guess plan B.
Go back in time when everything seems so clear, and when the problems we carried weren't even problems at all. Just don't get enough.
Another flaw this camera has, which is actually one of the things that made a lot of people upset when it was released a couple years ago, is the 4K crop. You can't really talk about the Canon EOS R without mentioning the crop in 4K. So basically, whenever you shoot 4K on this camera, it zooms it quite a bit. Now, all those flaws about this camera could be a deal breaker for you. I know it was for a lot of people, but not for me. Car. And this brings me to my last point today. Now, despite all its flaws, I really like this camera. Sure, it has a massive crop in 4K. It doesn't shoot 120 frames per second. There's no IBIS. But when I think about how I create as a filmmaker, I don't really shoot in 120 frames per second. Even though there's no IBIS, I can still shoot at 60 frames per second and still get smooth motion that way. And I don't shoot in 4K because it's just a bigger file size that most of the time just bugs Premiere down. I'm comfortable shooting in 1080 on this camera because it looks great, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters. You know, I could stay here and film the squirrels all day, but gonna have a video to go through. And there's a school bus. All right, let's move on. All right, I think they're done. I don't know, they might come back, but in case they're not done and they will come back, I thought we'll just film the outro real quick. So let's do that. There's still a little bit of noise, but hopefully we can ignore that. So in conclusion, if you're looking into buying a new piece of gear, it could be a new camera or a new lens, don't just listen to what everyone online is saying about it. Instead, look into what works the best for you and what you create. I'm not a big believer in gear doesn't matter, because honestly, it does. Aiden Robbins, a filmmaker YouTuber who actually inspired me to do this video, once said this about cameras and gear. Different tools do different things, and different tools are suited to different people. So take a step back and think about your individual needs, where you're going to be shooting, what you're going to be shooting, what look you're going for. And that's exactly what I did when I bought the Canon EOS R. And if I take a step back and look how I've used it over the past 6 months, I really don't regret buying it at all. And even though it has its flaws, it doesn't really hinder my workflow or the videos that I want to shoot. It actually works very well with my workflow. It's actually because of this camera that I've been getting into photography lately. So if you want to see some of my best photos, follow me on Instagram at Sam_fiction318. It's getting a little louder, so I think it's about time I end the video. If you're new here, my name is Samuel Peter and I create filmmaking content. If that's something you're interested in, feel free to like this video, share with your friends, or even subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching this video, and have a blessed day. So I just found a cicada climbing on the tree. Well, I shouldn't say found because they're like everywhere, but anyway.